Saddle up, folks, because we're about to take a ride that feels like it just slapped the DMV, the HOA, and the IRS in one take and then took a bow while Texas cheered. Ever notice how government regulations are like those all-you-can-eat buffets? Sounds great until you realize that there's a fine print sign that says, only if you eat what we like, in the order we say, using the spoon we provide while humming the national anthem. How about something closer to home, like registering a small business in Texas? It's like speed dating with the DMV. If every date ends in paperwork, a mandatory seminar, and someone asking if you've brought a notarized copy of your soul. Meanwhile, your elected reps are out here retweeting Bible verses and pretending that cutting ribbon is the same thing as cutting red tape. That's the Red Tape Rodeo, folks, the great American tradition where the bull is the paperwork, the cowboy is underpaid, and the only thing getting lassoed is your wallet. We've got a government so bloated with useless regulations, it makes an HOA look like Burning Man. Here in Texas, we brag about being independent and business-friendly, but try starting a food truck without filing forms in triplicate, paying 6 different processing fees, and swearing an oath on the ghost of Sam Houston. The regulators say it's about public safety. Sure, and I'm starting to think the TSA confiscates water bottles because they're secretly building a giant indoor water park. Here's the game. They tell you the regulations keep you safe, like an airbag. But these aren't airbags. They're cinder blocks tied to your boots with baling twine, and you skipped leg day. Try applying for a liquor license in rural Texas. It's a scavenger hunt designed by Kafka. You'll need a zoning form, a fire inspection, a license to dance, and maybe a blessing from a county judge who still thinks jazz is witchcraft. Meanwhile, megacorps skate through loopholes big enough to land Elon's next rocket in, because, plot twist, the more complex the rules, the easier it is for the big boys to cheat. You think I'm kidding? Washington has a federal agency for everything. Energy, transportation, milk. Yes, the USDA literally regulates how much pus is allowed in your milk. And if you think I'm joking, Google it. I dare you. The number is not 0. This isn't about safety, it's about control. Bureaucracy is just bad governance in a trench coat. And it's always for your own good right up until you realize that you need a permit to sell lemonade, but not to pass laws that choke out family farms and ranches. We're not living in a state, we're living in a satire. We've got rules that make sense. Don't dump chemicals in rivers. Don't sell meat that was last refrigerated during the Nixon administration. But then you hit the absurd stuff. You need a license to braid hair in some states. In Florida, you need the government permission to call yourself an interior designer. And here in Texas, try selling lemonade without a permit and watch the fun police roll up like they're busting a meth lab. It's not just petty, it's suffocating. Every unnecessary regulation is a toll booth on the road to progress, manned by some bureaucrat whose main job skill, is knowing where the stapler is kept. Try opening a food truck in Denton County. That's a 3-agency tango that ends up with a $500 fee and a mandate to install a sink that meets code but can't fit into your trailer. But wait, it gets better. In Congressional District 26, we've got Brandon Gill pretending that the threat is immigrants crossing the border while ignoring the bureaucratic boot crushing the necks of Texas ranchers who've lived here for generations. And down in HD 57, Richard Hayes wants to shrink the government unless it's his kind of government. He's fine with bloated agencies as long as they enforce his brand of moral micromanagement. Spoiler alert, that's not liberty, that's moral cosplay wrapped in red tape. Here's the truth. The more centralized the power, the thicker the red tape. Because when you give a one-size-fits-all authority to the same geniuses who can't balance a budget, you end up with a system where innovation is treated like a suspicious package. And even the voters have been fooled. Here's a radical idea. If a law requires 14 pages of compliance and a magnifying glass to understand, maybe it's not protecting the people. Maybe it's just protecting power. You want safer communities, more jobs, and a government that actually works? Cut the tape and hand the power back to local communities and let people solve problems without asking DC for permission, like a kid asking mom if they can go outside. We don't need a bigger state, we need a smaller target. Decentralization isn't just a buzzword. It's how you keep bureaucrats from turning your property rights into a polite suggestion. Government should be a referee, not the drunk uncle at the 4th of July cookout telling everyone where to park. Let local communities set local rules. Let small businesses breathe. Let Texans live like Texans, not like suspects in their own damn state. Bureaucrats don't ride bulls, they ride taxpayers. And the longer we stay in this rodeo, the more we forget that we're the ones paying for the ticket. Red tape doesn't make us safer, it makes us slower, poorer, and more obedient. You want to fix this mess? Maybe it's time we throw out the clowns out of the arena and take it back. take it all back.